Welcome back to In Focus Youth Day edition of In Focus. As part of their June 16 commemoration, members of the EFF gathered at the Hoërskool Uitsig in Centurion in the morning. The party leaders, including Commander-in-Chief Julius Malema and Secretary General Marshal Dlamini, addressed members on various issues. Now, the party gathered at the high school following an incident where pupils wearing EFF regalia were allegedly assaulted by a security guard there. Talk to me about this is now the EFF Treasurer General Malema. Good evening and thank you very much for your time. Your overall impressions around this day and the various challenges that still exist 27 years on, or at least 45 years on, as we are commemorating June 16.
Good evening, Thabo, and good evening to the viewers at home. Look, 45 years later, Thabo, we are still faced with racism that is very rife in our schools. We must continue to beg at the hands of those who feel that they are superior than us. In 1976, June 16 was because of the imposing of Afrikaans in schools, and we still see today Afrikaners mishandling and manhandling and assaulting black children. So we are reminded about what exactly happened 45 years ago. But not only that, Thabo, we see that in schools we still have a problem of parents who feel that when they are superior ahead of us. I mean, you've seen placards of those white parents saying that if you're not happy with our school, you can go and open your own school. I mean, what is that in Africa, in South Africa? Can we as Africans really, and honestly speaking, go to Holland and open our own schools and tell the people of Holland that if they're not happy with the school, they can open their own? It will never happen. But we see it happening in South Africa 45 years later. So the struggle still continues. We are still not free. We are still marginalized. We are still under the supremacy of white people. So we've got to challenge this. We've got to crush every sense of racism whenever they raise their ugly heads. And today was just a demonstration to say we are in solidarity with our black children, not only here in Centurion, but across the country, across the continent, because we continue to be marginalized as black people.
Yeah. Now, last night on Twitter, after the president's address, the leader of the economic freedom fighters, Julius Malema, said he actually will not comply or adhere to the lockdown level 3 restrictions. He made that announcement again today on stage, and in fact, you're calling on the supporters and every young person in the country to go to SAPRA to demand vaccines, and you're saying they should not adhere. Do you think that is a responsible thing to do as a party, considering even as we speak today, we've now surpassed 13,000 new cases in a day, something we have not seen since January?
So we're going to go high on those numbers. We'll very soon reach 20,000. And it's not because of the irresponsibility of our people. It is because of the irresponsibility of the leadership of this country. President Ramaphosa is very irresponsible. Thabo, you'll remember that the airlines, for example, since level 3 lockdown last year, they've been flying at full capacity. We're talking about over 200 passengers seated next to each other for over 2 hours, flying from Johannesburg to Cape Town. Now, what is that? When you get into the airport, there's even chairs marked. Don't sit here, don't sit there, there's social distancing. But you don't see that happening inside the aircraft. Now, I come from Pitibisulayang, a village in the northwest. I must travel to Cape Town for Parliament. I go through the airport, I go inside the aircraft, and I go and get infected there. Let us all remember how COVID came into South Africa. It came to South Africa through an airline, through an aeroplane. So why are these rules that are being changed every day do not happen in the airline space? So our demonstration today is to say, we're sick and tired of these rules that are getting chopped in and changed as if we are irresponsible people. We want vaccine. So when we say that we're going to march to SAPRA, is to say, to demand the freedom of choice. The democracy is very clear in terms of the right to life of our people. We are denied the right to life because President Ramaphosa wants to impose Johnson & Johnson on us. We are saying, SAPRA, approve Sinovac, approve Sputnik. So if you've got a headache right now, you've got a choice of taking either Grandpa or Panado or paracetamol or anything, Brufen or anything. But why are we only confined to Johnson & Johnson, which has proven that its efficacy is actually very low? So our demand and our demonstration today is to say we're still not free, we're still oppressed as the people, even at the time of the pandemic. So we want to send a very strong message that, yes, we will social distance, we will wear our masks, we will sanitize, but that is not the solution. The solution is vaccination. We've, on countless times, asked, even in Parliament, give us your rollout plan, give us your implementation plan. There's no implementation plan, there's no vaccine. We are being imposed into accepting Johnson & Johnson, which has proven not to be working. Sputnik is working. It has been proven in Russia and many other countries. I'm told now being administered in over 60 countries.
So are you not taking then the advice of the experts? SAPRA is, of course, the regulatory body that runs these tests, to have said Johnson & Johnson is the option that best deals with the variant that is available here in South Africa, which AstraZeneca could not deal with at the time. The other one that has been tested is Pfizer. Considering the recent event with the FDA, don't you think that it's more wise to take the advice of the regulatory bodies?
No, we take the advice, but it must not be to serve the certain faction of the ruling party. Why are we not talking about Sputnik? We want to have that choice of choosing between Sputnik, Sinovac, Pfizer, and J&J. Let our people, if you get these doses, all 4 different doses, to be given as choices, I'm sure even the rollout program will happen even more fast. So you can't confine people and say, no, you're going to take Panado, it's either Panado or Grandpa. What about Brufen? What about paracetamol? What about other painkillers that you could use? So SAPRA must not take the side of the factional side of the ruling party. They must allow, it has been proven Sputnik works. Why are they not approving it? It has been proven that Sinovac works. Why are they not approving it? Because those causes then the delays. Because if you've got certain dosage of J&J from America, you will get another percentage from Russia, will get another one from China. All that will then mean that we'll have enough vaccine to vaccinate our people in the country. Right now, we've got only J&J. It's a limited dosage that we're getting. Why not expand so that you can fast-track the vaccination of our people?
So what is your theory? Why are they refusing to allow a cocktail of vaccines to be made available in the country, to the extent that they are allowing more and more people to die?
Maybe because they want to depopularize our people. I don't know. President Ramaphosa must answer that question. You must ask him that question. Why are you denying the people the right to life? Because essentially that is what it means. It means perhaps he's on that agenda of depopulating our people, but also it could also mean that maybe it's in the pockets of Americans. He has charged people's money, now we must pay that money through our lives. And I'm not going to allow that. So President Ramaphosa must answer that question, pose it to the president and say, why are you allowing Grandpa and Panado and other painkillers and not allowing this cocktail of other vaccines that have proven actually to work? It's not even a no-brainer, Thabo. We are in the BRICS, part of the BRICS. Russia is part of the BRICS. China is part of the BRICS. China, the rise of this infection started in China. They've contained it with their own vaccine. Why can't we do the same? Zimbabwe here, the Zimbabweans and South Africans are the same people. All you need is just to walk through Messina and get into Zimbabwe. They've been vaccinated by a Chinese vaccine, and they are doing very well. Why are we denied Sinovac? That is the question that the president needs to answer, and he must answer it honestly and fairly. He was running around together with Jamnandas, collecting money for his campaign. What if this is the payback time of saying, no, you must give everything to us? We know how these things are. We're not stupid. We're not fools, Thabo. And we're not going to be fooled by Ramaphosa. And we're going to demonstrate until SAPRA approves all the vaccines that have been proven across the world that they are working.
All right, we'll talk more about the events of today with EFF Treasurer General Umpila Maudre when we continue next on In Focus. Stay with us. back on In Focus. Thanks for staying on. We continue our conversation then as part of the Youth Day commemorations, reflecting on the gathering by the economic freedom fighters at Hoërskool Uitsig in Centurion earlier on today. Party leaders there, including the leader of the party, Julius, Malema, as well as the Secretary General, Marshal Dlamini, addressing members on various issues. One of the issues, Mpile, that were addressed by the leader of the economic freedom fighters is the issue of gaining state power. Is the EFF ready for October 27th?
We are ready, Thabo. Look, we've been ready since last year, because prior to the elections, we go back to our branches to make sure that we've got solid branches on the ground. We have very, very well-built forces that will take us to the election. So we had to postpone that process last year, and then we commenced it this year, and it looks like if at the rate at which we're going, we might have to maybe halt it a bit, but the leadership will decide on that. So we're in the process of launching our branches. We call them branch people's assemblies. We've got the regions that have already reached the 90%. Our rule is that we need to have 90% of the branches in a certain region or municipality ready to be launched before you can launch the region. So we had over 50% of the regions that were ready to launch. So we're continuing with the process now, because we want to finish it and then enter into roll out of the election machinery that will involve now door-to-door talking to our people, starting to gather information to do the manifesto, and start planning on the rallies, start planning on the manifesto launch and printing of the councillor candidates, posters and flyers and all those things. So we are ready. We are still maintaining, though, that it will not be a free and fair elections, because this process, as I say, should have started last year. So we only started this year when the lockdown regulations were eased a bit. So we are still fighting with that, but be that as it may, we are getting ourselves ready. We've got enough machinery that we will be rolling out. We've spoken to suppliers also. We've lined them up to be ready. It's going to be very tight, because imagine printing over 4,000 posters of different faces. It's a ward-based campaign, this one. So each candidate will have its...
Before we get to those preparations, there's been a disbanding of regions that the economic freedom fighter leader spoke about. And of course, you've just mentioned the whole question of going to BPAs. Is there some instability in the party at this particular point? I mean, there was even talk of recalling some councillors.
Yeah, there is very much stability. What we're doing is accountability. It's not stability, but the stability is very intact. So what we did when we came back from the plenum, you remember that we had a plenum earlier this year in February, where we agreed on the dates. So the preparation for the launching of branch people's assembly started last year, and we had to halt it because of the regulations. So when we opened it, we expected everybody to move at a faster pace. So we had very, very tight deadline. The deadline was the 31st of May, which meant that all branches, 90% of the branches in a specific region should have launched the 90% of the rights. And where we saw that there's not much progress, they had to be disbanded, like Tshwane, where I reside, and some region in Limpopo. And after the 31st, then we went back to Constock and we said, look, the guidelines are very clear that we've distributed to everybody to say, if you don't reach your 90% by the 31st of May, we are automatically dissolved. So the regions that did not meet the 90% are dissolved, and we've appointed the interim leadership that will take that region then to the Regional People's Assembly. So there is very much stability in the organization. What we do is accountability. We can't have public representatives that do not come from a launch branch, and we make no apology about it. The officials of the EFF, all 6 of us, we've launched our branches within the specified timeline. So if the TG, the CIC, the Deputy President, the SG, the DSG, the National Chair, and the TG can launch their branches within the specified timelines, why are the others not launching their branches? So we don't promote laziness. We encourage that we work within our own rules and our own guidelines. We respect them. We respect the organization. If we leave them unattended to Thabo, we run the risk of becoming the ANC. You can see there's no accountability in the ANC. SAA is dead. Eskom, they're killing it. Transnet is following. SA Express is dead. Dinel is following. There's no accountability. Eskom, the load shedding is happening every day, sometimes 2-3 times a day. There's no accountability. Yeah. Nothing. So we do not promote laziness.
Now you're still confident with those disbanded regions, particularly the Tshwane one, that you will win that municipality or that metro?
So it's an internal organizational issue. It's not in any way affecting the election. So internally, if we feel that we lack something in that structure, we dissolve it or we disband it, because we want to strengthen it. We want to go into the local government elections united and everybody marching behind the elected leadership. So very soon, we will be launching the region. They are almost there in terms of 90% after the intervention that was made by the convener of deployees here in Gauteng. So their pace was very low, and that is what the CIC was complaining about. So after they were removed or disbanded, then the interim leadership came in and started launching branches. They're left with very, very few. Yeah. President did speak about it today to say they're left with 5 branches to go into the RPA. And then once they reach the 90%, they'll go into the Regional People's Assembly and will then focus on going out to the voters to speak to the voters.
Yeah, speaking of the voters, the president of the EFF, Julius Malema, calling on young people to go vote. In fact, he says you can't complain about unemployment if you're not going to go and vote. Does the EFF believe young people still believe in the legitimacy of political parties?
They do, Thabo. A lot of our people, I mean, you can see the EFF is supported mainly by young people, and that can be attributed to the victories that they do through tertiary institutions. I mean, we win most of the tertiary institutions, but the problem that we've been having is that they are not registered to vote. So last year actually, we took a resolution that any member who wishes to join the EFF must be a registered voter. So if you're not a registered voter, that is a starting point. You cannot be a member of the EFF. So we had to go back to our people and clean the system. We've got a system, an IT system that can detect that Thabo Mkhulu is not registered to vote. And then the responsibility was given to the leadership to say, go and get these people registered to vote. So we are now launching branches with solid and registered voters. So that is where you start. You can't go to the war with people who don't have license for guns. How are you going to shoot when you don't have a license to shoot? So we can't give you a gun to shoot. But if you go there with everybody who's licensed to shoot, we can then give them guns so that they can shoot. So that is the starting point. The starting point is that, and this we actually realized when we were doing the recruitment drive on the registration, that even our own volunteers were not registered to vote. We've self-corrected as the organization because we've picked up that problem. And we said everybody must be registered to vote. So the base is that the 100 people who makes the branch to be a branch in good standing must be registered to vote. And then we can send that 100 battalion to go and speak to the voters. So yes, the young people still believe that in the legitimacy of the political parties, and in effect, they believe more in the EFF. So even a child that goes to crash, whenever they start opening their eyes, they will talk about the EFF. EFF this, EFF that, Malema this, Malema that. So they believe in the cause that you are pushing. They believe in the economic freedom in our lifetime. And the future of this country lies in the hands of young people. And of course, yes, we encourage young people to go and vote. I mean, for example, we will win a VET campus. But when it comes to elections, general elections, we lose that word. Why? And that word, by the way, VET is also a VD. Why would you lose a word where you are a governing? The same applies to Limpopo University. You would win the Limpopo SRC, University SRC, but lose the elections. Yeah. Why? Because the young people are not registered to vote. So we've encouraged them, all of them, to go and register to vote.
So you're saying it's not just a matter of goodwill and intention, and then when it's actually time to show up, the young people just don't believe in engaging with the politics in that way. They would rather maybe protest with you more than anything else.
Look, if you look at last 2019 general elections, the DA's campaign was to demoralize our people from voting. I mean, they will talk everything bad about service delivery, as if, choosing a political party is a solution. It's not a solution. The solution lies in the implementation of the manifesto of that political party. So they run, and they've got a very strong machinery to run in terms of demoralizing our people to go and vote, and they go in their numbers to vote. White people, they will queue from grandmother, grandfather, to daughter, to boyfriend, to girlfriend, to a dog. They will go and queue at the voting station to vote. But our people get demoralized because these orders that we are running, they are ads, and you must look at it, Thabo, and maybe we can have this conversation after the elections. Let's monitor these people. They go all out to demoralize our people from voting, and we don't have the same machinery because we don't have the money. When we want to advertise now, Thabo, we went on advert 5 minutes ago. It's nothing less than 200,000. So we don't have that muscle, we don't have that money, but they have got the money. They will go and do adverts on TVs, on radio, on big billboards, discouraging our people from voting. But we do our bit by encouraging our people to go and vote with the little resources that we have, and we'll continue with our mouths, our own bodies, to motivate our people to say, if you do not register to vote and you actually wake up on that day to vote, we are going to wake up with Helen Zille as the president of this country. So we can't allow that because it works in the favor of DA for black people not to vote because Bona they've reached their ceiling. But the black people who are supposed to be voting for black parties, they don't go to vote. So we're going to wake up one day and Helen Zille run this country because our people would have not voted. I mean, take Marikana for example. When Marikana happened, everybody in Marikana was saying, we're not going to vote. That was their first default answer. So we're not going to vote. Because why? They're made to believe that, no, we don't have to go and vote because there's no service delivery. No, there's not going to be any change because they're still going to continue killing you. But that is not the case. People died for this democracy. People died for this one man, one vote thing that we have today. So much.
Speaking of the DA and one day Helen Zille turning out to be president in the country, the Democratic Alliance have written to the Speaker to have an inquiry into the vaccines and who should be held accountable and what actually went wrong. Would you support that? Are you supporting that particular call?
No, but they are being disingenuous. We know what is the problem. The problem is the president of the country. I mean, the DA, the DA was the first party to say the rated must be protected. So the DA, they're evil because anything that works in their favor, they support it. Who would support the rated who switches off electricity during this pandemic? I mean, what is that? And now they want to come today and say there's no need for inquiry. Ramaphosa must be held accountable for all the loss of lives of our people because he refused to give the people of South Africa the right to life. So there's no need for any inquiry. It's a waste of time. They know because it's done by their favorites. They want to play around as if they're doing something about it. No, the DA knows that President Ramaphosa must be held accountable. President Ramaphosa must be held responsible for the loss of lives of our people. There's no inquiry of anything that we need. We, people of South Africa, have chosen, have elected Ramaphosa to become the president. So he is the leader of this country, and he must take full responsibility because we can't then say it's Selim Kiza or it's Mamuluku Kubai. No, they report to the president of the country, but because it's their favorite, they don't want to go that route. They just want to waste our resources and our time in parliament. We've got bigger issues. We need to pass bills and laws in parliament that are going to make the lives of our people better. We need to pass the motion, the amendment of Section 25 that will expropriate land without compensation, and not this nonsensical thing that DA wants to do. So they must stop playing politics and stop playing hypocrite on this issue. Ramaphosa must be held accountable. There is no inquiry that is needed. There's nothing. He must be held accountable. Okay. We want to go to parliament and pass the law that will amend Section 25 of the Constitution to allow for expropriation of land without compensation.
EFF Treasurer General Mpila Maudre, always a pleasure. Thank you very much for joining us tonight here on In Focus. Well, we'll continue for you in a moment. The devastation brought on, of course, by the lives lost underground. These are 20 bodies discovered in the northwest, comes under the spotlight. We'll talk a little bit more about the impact of artisanal mining with David van Wyk, a lead researcher at Benchmarks Foundation. Do stay with us.